Hey everyone, welcome. Today we're going to dive into how the role of AI is really shifting for business analysts. We're moving way beyond just using it as a simple productivity tool. It's becoming this whole new complex world, one that really needs the sharp eye of a strategic analyst to navigate. Let's see how this completely changes the game.
You know, this quote just nails it. The conversation isn't about AI replacing analysts. Not at all. It's about making them better. It's kind of like having a super fast junior analyst on your team, one who can do all the heavy lifting so you can focus on what really matters, the big picture strategic thinking.
I mean, let's be honest, AI is already everywhere in our daily work. So raise your hand, right? Are you using a copilot to draft an email, maybe summarizing a super dense document, or even just brainstorming ideas? If you are, you're already tapping into its power. It's kind of become this quiet engine running in the background of business today.
Okay, but knowing AI is out there is one thing. Actually getting it to do what you want it to do, that's a whole other ballgame. And it all comes down to mastering the art of the prompt. Seriously, it's just like framing the perfect question for a stakeholder. Crafting the right prompt for an AI is an absolutely fundamental skill for analysts now.
And look, it's not that complicated. A great prompt really just boils down to 3 simple steps. First, you give it context. Literally tell it, act as a senior business analyst. Second, give it a crystal clear task, like summarize the key pain points from these user interviews. And finally, define the format. Tell it present this in a table with columns for the issue, its impact, and priority level. It's all about being specific, just like writing a good business requirement.
And here is the perfect example of the difference it makes. On the left, you've got this vague prompt that's going to get you a generic, honestly, a pretty useless answer. But look at the right. By using this chain of thought approach, you're not just getting an answer, you're getting the reasoning behind it. You can see its work, you can challenge its logic, and you can build on it. For any analyst, that's pure gold.
The power here is just staggering. Think about one of the absolute worst analyst tasks ever, documenting some massive 20-year-old legacy system. You know the one, the code is a mess, the original developers are long gone. Well, with AI, a job that used to take months of what was basically code archaeology can now get done in a few hours. It really does feel like magic.
And with a tool this powerful, it's so easy to think, great, our work is done. We've got the ultimate sidekick, we can solve anything. But this is where the story takes a really critical turn. Because having a powerful tool and actually using it wisely, those are two very, very different things. And here we go, the classic pitfall, the shiny object trap. You know how it is. An executive hears AI at a conference and comes back saying, we need that, without anyone stopping to ask the most fundamental business analysis question. What problem are we actually trying to solve here? Nobody needs AI. They need to meet a business goal that AI might just help them achieve. And this leads to a pretty staggering statistic. A whopping 80% of AI projects fail. And why? It's almost always because of this massive disconnect between what the business leaders want and what the tech teams can realistically deliver. That gap, well, that gap is exactly where the business analyst's role becomes more critical than ever before.
This crazy high failure rate, it forces us to completely shift our focus. We have to move beyond just using AI for our analysis work, and we need to start doing business analysis for AI projects. It's about stepping up to be the strategic guide, not just the person using the tool. So let's break down what that really means by looking at 5 huge business risks.
Right. To guide an AI project to success, we analysts need a framework to spot the major risks. We're going to look at 5 of the biggest ones. First up, bias and discrimination. Then, privacy violations. Third, over-reliance on the tech. And finally, 2 challenges that are super closely related: a lack of explainability and a lack of accountability. And these aren't just tech issues, they are core business problems.
Let's kick things off with bias. So imagine an AI that's been trained on decades of loan application data. Now, if that historical data already contains biases against certain groups, well, the AI is going to learn those biases and then amplify them, automatically denying credit to people who totally deserve it.
The analyst's job here is to be the safeguard. It means asking those tough questions before a single line of code is written. Questions like, is our training data actually representative of our whole customer base? Do we have processes in place to check for fairness? It's all about building those checks and balances right into the system requirements from the very beginning. Next up, privacy. This one's huge. When you're feeding an AI model tons of sensitive customer info, we're talking financial data, personal details, you name it, the risk of that data being misused or leaked is just enormous.
And a breach like that can destroy the trust you've built with your customers in a heartbeat.
So what do? The analyst has to become the champion for privacy by design. This can't be an afterthought you tack on at the end. It means working with all the stakeholders to define strict data governance, making sure data is anonymized wherever possible, and setting up clear access controls from day one.
Now, for a risk that's a little more subtle but really dangerous, over-reliance. This happens when the AI is just so good and so efficient that we stop checking its work. In this example, you could have teachers who blindly trust an AI grader. A single systemic error could go completely unnoticed and end up unfairly penalizing a whole group of students.
The strategy here is actually pretty simple, but it is absolutely essential. You have to keep a human in the loop. The analyst's job is to design that workflow where the AI does the first pass, but a human expert always performs the final check, especially for those high-stakes decisions or tricky edge cases.
And this brings us right to the famous black box problem. The AI spits out an answer, like loan denied, but it can't tell you why. For the customer on the other end, that is incredibly frustrating. It feels totally unfair, and it just erodes any trust they had in your company.
So to fight this, the analyst has to push for transparency. This means we advocate for using what are called explainable AI models, or XAI. And it means designing systems that can give clear, human-readable feedback and create reports that can be audited later on if something goes wrong.
And that leads us to our final point, accountability. When an automated decision causes real-world harm, who's on the hook? Is it the developer, the business owner, the company that supplied the data? If there's no clear answer, the entire organization is exposed to massive risk. You can't just throw your hands up and blame the algorithm.
This right here is pure business analysis. The analyst's job is to work with leadership to build those governance structures right from the start. By setting up clear ownership and lines of responsibility, you make sure that for every single AI-driven outcome, someone is accountable.
So we've really looked at both sides of the coin here. The first part is all about mastering the tool, learning how to prompt AI so it can be your ultimate sidekick. But the second, and I'd argue more important part, is about stepping up to be AI's strategic guide, protecting the business and its customers from all these risks. And in the end, it really all comes down to this. The technology is incredibly powerful, and the business goals are always ambitious, but it's the business analyst who stands right in the middle to make sure the solution actually serves and, most importantly, respects the people it's designed for. That is the core human-centric value that can never be automated away.
Which leaves us with this one final thought to chew on. In a world where AI can deliver answers at blinding speed, what's the most valuable human skill? It's the one that comes first: the curiosity, the critical thinking, and the courage to ask the right question. And that, right there, is the enduring role of the business analyst.